As I cross the threshold of the forest of dreams, my deepest longing is rough-hewn in the gloaming. The trees gather round to mind me through the night. As I fall into sleep, does my desire become a dream? And when I wake, does my dream become reality? Hi, I'm Melinda, and I'm here to tell you about my bed called Enter the Forest of Dreams. I started making this bed in 1999 when I was a student at the Thomas Chippendale Furniture School in Gifford, Scotland. I designed and made the headboard and the footboard. They're made out of olive ash, which is, I chose it because it's a beautifully colored wood and it's got these gorgeous ripples in the woodwork that you can see when you're up close to it. I cut the bed out with a bandsaw, and then I got to work with chisels and wood files, and I shaped it, and it just feels really nice to touch because it's got all this sort of curves and no rough edges on it. So first I designed and made the headboard and the footboard, and then I made the quilt. And this is when I'd first moved to Scotland and I didn't have much material in my stash, and so I sent a friend of mine in America a sketch of the bed, and I asked her to pick the fabric and send it to me. So she sent me all of this luscious green and goldy and sort of reddy brown fabric. And I wanted to make the bed that was like going to sleep in the forest. And it's called Enter the Forest of Dreams. And there's a woman who's leaning here against the tree. And you don't really see her at first, but there is a woman here. And she's looking down at something on the forest floor. Well, I knew there was going to be something there, and I thought, is it going to be a rabbit or a mushroom? I'm not sure because we were in the woods. And this was my first winter living in Scotland, and I was working on this in February. And in Britain in February, the primroses all start to blossom. They're the first flowers of springtime. And I put a primrose in there, and I went to the library and looked at a book called The Victorian Language of Flowers, and read that in the language of flowers, a primrose means dawning love, or I could grow to love you. So I thought that was perfect for this woman who's about to dream of her true love to be looking at a primrose flower. So this part of the bed is the imagining of true love, and this woman's going to go to sleep in the bed and dream about her true love or her future love. I had a duvet cover that I dyed with Procyon dyes and a white valance that I dyed with brown dyes, and when I showed the bed at my graduation ceremony in 1999, this looked as it does, but there was just sort of a green cover on it, and this is what it looked like at that time. So after I made the headboard and the quilt, I got down to the footboard, and it was all square edges when it was first put together, so I got my wood files and my rasps, and I really smoothed it down because it's such beautiful wood and it really brings the grain out, and it just feels really good to touch. I decided to show the bed in 2012 after it had been in storage for 13 years, and I needed to make a quilt to go over the top of the bed. So I bought all of this really beautiful silk and velvet and damask fabric. So after I pieced the top of the bed, I found some backing fabric, and I chose this beautiful amethyst colored satin because I wanted the whole bed to feel as beautiful as it looks. And I've slept in this bed, and it's so nice to wake up at night and just feel all the different textures on the top and that nice satin on the back of it. The top of my quilt has a river running through it, which flows down from the top of the quilt. And river imagery is very important to me in a lot of my quilts. I've got Native American background, and it's important to my Native American background. This was the imagination of love, and this is where love is found. And this river has a lot of symbology and significance in it. Again, I've made it with silk, and I've quilted it with metallic threads because I just want it to be beautiful to look at and to touch, and the threads sparkle in the light. And I've been living near rivers for the past 6 or 7 years that I've been living in Devon, and there are these places in the river where you can find things in the water. The water runs kind of shallow, and there's broken pieces of pottery and slate that's been smoothed by the river and river stones. And if you look here on this part of the quilt, there are 2 pieces of slate which represent the slate that I found before I met my husband when I was still sort of looking for my true love. And I found these 2 pieces of slate in the river that had originally been together, and they'd come apart, but they were still side by side. And I've got the 2 pieces of slate here, which are also in my wedding quilt cleaved. And I've got a couple of pieces of blue willow pottery, another kind of neat thing that you find in the river. I call it river middens, and you find pieces of pottery and things people have tossed in the river, and they just sort of get worn down over the years. And this blue willow pottery, it's just very special to me because my mother died when I was 16, and she had sent some blue willow pottery to one of her sisters, and it was given to me after I was a grown woman, long after my mother had passed away. And I've also got 2 pieces of confetti from my wedding, because part of the story of Love is Found is I met the man who's now my husband about 2008, so our story is in here on this top part of the quilt. And I've also got 2 fish in here who are navigating the river and just flowing down the river of life together. So this is the quilt that I made this year for my bed. And I'm going to take you around to the back now and show you the back of the quilt. Because this bed is now being shown in the round, I want people to have it look as lovely from the back as from the front. So I'll take you around back now and tell you about the other side of the quilt. Okay, so this is the back of the quilt that I painted also in 2012, because I'm going to be showing this in the round. When I finished the quilt in 1999, it just had sort of a yellow-green fabric on the back. And I can show you a little bit about the construction and how the quilt attaches to the headboard. I made these little sort of rods in here, and on the back of the quilt, these are loops with buttons, handmade wooden buttons that I made, and the buttons just come through here, and there's a buttonhole, so that's how the quilt attaches to the back. And when I decided to decorate the back of the quilt, I got some white gesso to sort of cover up all the greeny yellow color and give myself a nice clean background to work with. And I just sort of painted in the quilting lines. So it was quilted first and then painted. And I painted the woman who's standing next to the tree. You can see her a lot better on this side. And I put some fireflies in because it's nighttime, and I thought they were a bit of a romantic touch. And the primroses really come out here. I've used a bit of metallic paint right in the middle of them, so they're sort of like little stars there on the forest floor. And I also wrote a poem to go on the back of the quilt, and I'll read that to you. As I cross the threshold of the forest of dreams, my deepest longing is rough-hewn in the gloaming. The trees gather round to mind me through the night. As I fall into sleep, does my desire become a dream? And when I wake, does my dream become reality? So that's just about what the bed's about. Your dreams become reality, your desires become your dreams, and everything starts with a dream. When I was putting the poem onto the back of the quilt, there was a new moon in the sky, and I live up on the top floor of a flat in Dartmoor, and I'm always aware of the sun and the moon and the stars when I can see them. And so I thought a new moon on the back of the quilt felt really good, because it's like new moon and new beginnings. If you look at some of the detail in here, I got some of my, I have some really nice hand-carved stamps from India, and I put some stamps on the back of it, and just a lot of detail in the grass and the evening down here. There's lots of little plants and things. And what I want to tell you about now is there's a secret about the bed. Now I'm going to tell you about the secret part of the bed. Hidden beneath the forest floor and beneath the river of dreams is the eternal part of love. This is the secret of my bed, Enter the Forest of Dreams, the hidden valence, which is the secret is that love is eternal. And the images on this valance are from a brass monument from a church in Cambridgeshire, and these 2 people were real people who lived. This monument that I took this rubbing from was made in 1325. It's Sir Richard de Creek and his first wife, Lady Elaine de Creek. And when people of nobility died in those days, they had brass monuments made in churches that sort of immortalized them for life. And I just love the idea of a couple and an immortalized couple which represent the eternity of love. I blew up the picture of the people and I traced over them with fabric pastels, and it was so a wonderful process to do it, because I just got to see all of the folds in their clothes, and she's got a little lapdog at her feet, and he's a knight and he's got a lion at his feet, and all of the detail in his armor is just so amazing, and the folds in the cloth of her garments. I asked my husband Steve to write a poem to go onto this, and he wrote a poem called Enter the Forest of Dreams. Sleep, let the forest enfold thee. Watch, let thy eyes see light in shade. Hear, let thy ears be open to silence.
Dream, let thy soul be still. Love is imagined.
Walk, let thy soul be thy compass. Feel, let thy heart be bold and cautious. Know, let hope take root, deep anchor. Touch, feel the river flow and its bounty. Love is found.
Sleep, the world is done. Sleep, thy love is found. Sleep, the dream is made. Sleep, this earth is thine. Love lives.
Thank you for entering the Forest of Dreams with me, and may your dreams come true.